Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Caregiving Gen X Style. I'm Steve Mullen.
And I'm Jennifer Mullen.
Hiring and dealing with home health aides can be a full-time job all on its own, but if your elderly loved one plans to age in place, it may be the only way to make that happen. This isn't our first episode about home health, but it's going to be a bit different. In this episode, we have tips directly from a home health aide that every caregiver should know.
Yep, it's awesome.
But first, Jennifer, how's your mom?
Gagi's doing well. I was actually over there this afternoon for one of her in-home nurse practitioner visits, and I was definitely reminded today of why my brother and I are always there for those. I mean, obviously we take her physically out of her apartment to doctor's appointments, but even for the in-home ones, we always make sure we're there, and there is a reason, because, I try not to hover too much. I was doing some things in, her kitchen. I was actually counting out her meds, getting that all straightened out. But I was listening to the nurse ask her some questions, which she was answering entirely incorrectly. So I usually try to, certainly give her time to talk directly to the healthcare professional, and I try to step out of it. But then I usually will say, if I hear something incorrect, I won't just jump in and correct it and say, no, that's not right. I try to say, if I may, Mom, may I? And she's usually pretty good about letting me weigh in. But yeah, I was just reminded of that today. She will not answer all of the things totally correctly. But the other thing is, and this is kind of for you and I both to talk about, we both had some slightly funny moments. Certainly many of you out there listening to this were affected by the Verizon outage that just happened, because it was something like 142 million people. So I leave my office, hop in the car to drive home, which is always, I always call Mom on my way home. My brain wasn't quite caught up with the whole thing. I knew there was the outage, but, I start trying to call her, and of course the call won't go through. I'm like, oh, right. And then I think I need to swing by there before I go home, just to make sure everything's all squared away. Of course, I walk in, and she's sitting there with her phone, and she's like, yeah, none of my messages, my messages won't go through. Which, by the way, when I looked at her phone, she was just in the middle of typing a message. She hadn't even attempted to send it. So I hit send, and it went through just fine because
she's on Wi-Fi.
She was on her Wi-Fi. We also did a test call to my brother just to make sure, a call could get out. We even did a test of her medical alert button. There's a way to do a test with those things. So we did that just to make sure that if she had an emergency and pressed her button, she would get through to someone. So, it was all good. But so this harkens back to our episodes about elderly loved ones and technology. My mom is just so good in so many ways with it, way better than a lot of other,
way better than my mother would be. I don't want to give her a smartphone. It terrifies me.
Oh yeah. But, I get ready to leave. I wasn't there for long, and she starts walking to the door with me and starts looking out the front door, and she's like, so are all the lights on in the apartment complex? And it took me a split second, and I said, Mom, the Verizon outage has literally nothing to do with the electricity. Don't worry about it. You're going to have your lights tonight. So that was my funny with her. So, Steve, how's your mom?
Well, same thing. On that same day, I had, I was scheduled to go over there anyway. I went over, and as I'm on my way over to her apartment, it occurs to me, oh, right, her cell phone. So she has a Lively phone. It's just a flip phone. I think everybody's probably seen those things.
Yeah.
But Lively uses Verizon's towers, so there you go. So I get over there, and she launches into her list of things for me to do, which she always has.
What?
Actually, for Christmas this year, I got her a stack of things to do list pads.
Which was perfect. I'm not sure she really got the underlying...
Oh, she did. She's been using them, trust me, for me.
No, I'm sure she's been using them, but... Yeah. Anyway. It was a little passive-aggressive gift, but that's okay.
And I learned that from who?
Probably me.
Probably you, yes. Okay. Anyway, so before she got too far in, I said, Mom, just pause on that for a second. Let me see your phone. Why? Just let me see your phone. Why? Let me see your phone. Okay, is it broken? Just let me see it. So she hands it over to me finally. just with a very confused look on her face. I don't blame her for that. And I flipped it open and tried to make a call, and sure enough, it wasn't working. And I said, okay, so there's a big outage with Verizon today. Anybody who has Verizon, their service may not be working right now. She said, oh, well, what are we going to do? I said, well, there's not much we can do right now. I said, if you need to get in touch with me, you may have to talk to somebody here at the assisted living and get them to call me from a landline, although it may not come through to my phone. So, I don't know what we're going to do. Hopefully it won't last long. She said, oh, well, do we need to switch to another provider? No, it's hopefully a short-term thing. Well, is Verizon out of business? No, Verizon's not out of business. I said, it's just an outage. It's a technical problem. Oh, okay. Am I going to be able to watch Netflix tonight? Yes, you're going to be able to watch Netflix. That comes through your Wi-Fi. That's a reasonable question.
Honestly, that is a reasonable question. That was also part of why I just wanted to make sure that all of the electronics in Mom's apartment were working, because as we know, she's got the TV on all the time. So yeah, I get why your mom asked that.
That's a reasonable question.
It is.
And she uses the Wi-Fi in the building, and it's from a different company. It's fine. But it was a conversation that was longer than it needed to be and much more frustrating than it needed to be. And it just comes down to, once again, this discussion of elderly folks and technology.
Yeah.
And again, there's reasons she doesn't have a smartphone.
So before we get into our episode, we wanted to share a few How's Your Mom updates that we got from listeners, which is very exciting.
Yay.
Thank you to all of you who weighed in on this. Last week, Steve posted on our Facebook page asking how everyone's care recipient was doing.
I think I listed it as mom, dad, or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Right. It could be anyone. So we got a few responses and wanted to talk about them on the show.
Mm-hmm. I will start out. So Karen had a quick update. She said her mom and dad are doing well, probably better than she herself is doing. We feel you, Karen. We really do. We really, really do.
Yeah, that's a very real, valid feeling to be having. Sometimes you do realize when you are in the middle of caring for someone that, and we've talked a lot about this. We've talked about the self-care. You got to make sure you're doing things for yourself.
Don't say it.
I really want to say it.
No, don't say it.
I know all of you out there who've been listening regularly, I'm going to say put the oxygen mask on your face first. No, but seriously, take the walks, try to find a few minutes to read, whatever it is, try to find those things to do for yourself. Because yes, Karen, we very much understand that sometimes it feels like you're taking such good care of somebody else that you yourself, not so good.
Absolutely. So you take the next one.
Okay. Samantha said she had a recent win, which was buying her mom an in-home walker that's narrow enough for the doorways and has a storage bag, tray, and cup holder. She's apparently been resisting the walker, but actually loves this one for toting meals to the dining room without worrying about balance. Samantha, I cannot tell you what a fantastic win that is, because yes, my mom has a rollator, and it's, one of those, it's got the seat that flips up and it has like a little bag beneath it. But the tray and cup holder is pretty cool because she is, she's putting things on that seat and rolling it over the wood floors from the kitchen into her living room. And there have been some spills along the way. So good for you for finding something sort of an all-in-one solution for that very thing. Yeah, my mom actually had one of these after one of her 3 back surgeries. I cannot remember which one. They had her using a walker, and it was a clip-on tray that just went on top. And yeah, it had a little place to put a cup, and it had room. And she used it quite a bit at that point, just going back and forth with a magazine, newspaper, or dinner, or whatever. And it was really, really good, really helpful. And it extends, Samantha, right? It extends to any of those things, any of those sort of aids that you might be using to help your loved ones, whatever they might be. If you find something that works really well, and they use it, and they use it, that's really the most important part. That's true. They actually use it, and they use it. I'll add one in here. My mom now has in 2 of her closets, and then also one next to the chair that she spends all her time in, one of those 3-tiered rolling carts that are really meant for dorm rooms. I think that's when we first saw it. But, that way, if she needs to, get something out of her closet, or instead of just having a static, just side table next to her chair, she's got this rolling cart. She can kind of move it closer to her and then push it out of the way. So that was a win for us.
When you got your mother, or I think Medicaid probably paid for it, was the travel chair, the lightweight travel chair that you got, which I know because the regular wheelchairs can be heavy.
That thing was starting to get, I was starting to hurt my back loading that thing in and out of the car. So Samantha, we hear you. It is so awesome when you find something that works like that. Good for you.
Next up was from Lisa. She had a story that's probably not all that uncommon. She says her parents told her they do not like the current assisted living facility that they moved into 2 years ago. She said the place is probably the nicest one in the area and they're not going to find any place that is better. She said they weren't really sure where they wanted to move to next. Lisa said she said nothing to them and did not offer to find them another place, which, I commented on this comment from Lisa, and there's a couple of ways to go with this. Number one, you can push back and say, why don't you like it here? What is it you don't like? And then you can point out, hopefully they have friends there. You can point out, well, you won't see these folks anymore if you move, or a staff member they like. Well, you won't see them. The other way to go, particularly if their memory's not so hot right now, is just to let it go and hopefully they forget.
Yeah. Right.
So that's another way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I like that was your suggestion to her. Yeah. I do compliment you every now and then.
Every so often.
No, I think that's a good suggestion because you're exactly right. It might have nothing to do with the facility itself. There might be some other underlying thing. And if it's not wanting to live in assisted living at all, that's just...
Oh, I think I may have brought that up. It may have been just that they wanted to go home, and that home may have been sold already. There may not be any other home.
Right. That's, and that's a real thing that I'm sure a lot of people experience when they make those transitions. But sometimes it is what it is, and so you got to figure out the deflection around it. So... Well, finally, Danette says she's taking care of her mom full-time, and she's on hospice. Danette is also still working from home full-time and caring for her grandchildren on the weekends. She says she's literally burnt out but has no other options. Despite that burnout, she says she wants to send strength to everyone going through similar situations. Well, that is a very kind sentiment,
it really
Danette.
Is. From somebody who is clearly kind of hanging on that last thread right now.
Yep,
sounds
and
like.
we are sending you all of the good vibes and juju right now. What a tough situation. I can't imagine how challenging that is, and I do hope you can find teeny tiny small ways to do a little something for yourself every now and then, 5 minutes a day, something. But good luck to you. Best wishes.
The only piece of advice I'd say is, take a day off from work. Don't go anywhere. Don't take care of anybody and just stay at home and stay away from the work computer and try to not do anything.
Depends on what kind of work she does. Sometimes,
she may not be able to take a day. I get that.
That's not as easy as it might.
Well, hopefully she has paid time off.
Right.
Hopefully.
But if it's an hourly job and you don't have paid time off and you need the paycheck, it's not always that simple.
It's not always that simple. But, just a reminder, as we've said before, we love hearing about your moms, dads, and other care recipients and how they're doing. We will give out contact information at the end of the show so you can send us more updates.
So, into our full episode now, and that's actually kind of an interesting segue from Danette into this. So if you're caring for your elderly loved one in your home or their home, you may reach a point when it's time to hire some help. Again, we know it's not always that simple. There are a lot of factors in that. But, if you are in a position and you can hire someone, that means, probably hiring a home health aide either directly or through an agency.
So recently I saw a post on Reddit from a woman who has been a home health aide for 5 years, and she created a post and she wanted to let everyone know what she'd learned during those 5 years. I contacted her. She said she didn't want to be a guest on the show. I was hoping she would, but she did agree to let us use the information from her Reddit post so long as she remained anonymous, which I totally understand. So this episode, we're going to run through her top 5 tips. And because she wanted to remain anonymous, we're going to call her, quote unquote, Brenda.
Okay, here we go again. Here we go again with the quote unquote. We do not
Brenda.
have to say that every time we say her
name. No, I
name,
feel like I do.
But also, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with the name Brenda, but like, where did you just randomly
it popped
come
into
up?
my head.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if anybody's been on Reddit, you know that most people have just automatically generated weird names like, I don't know, Sofa Potato or something like that.
Okay.
So even if I used her, and that was not, by the way, her nickname.
Don't go looking for Sofa Potato. That's not Brenda.
I just made that up. But my point is even
Brenda.
if I use the name that I knew, I mean, it's likely nobody would know who she was. But regardless, I don't know her real name. No. We're going to call her quote unquote Brenda.
No, we're going to call her Brenda.
Well, you're going to call her Brenda.
We're not going to call her quote unquote Brenda.
I'm going to call her quote unquote Brenda.
All right, let's jump into this. So first, it's expensive.
It is.
This is not new information, but Brenda pointed out that even with insurance, you could be paying more than $100 per hour for care in some parts of the country. And that is no lie. That's no exaggeration, especially if you're working with an agency. So she also wanted to point out, and this is a good highlight. The nurses aren't getting $100 an hour, right? The workers, she said, only get about $20 per hour or sometimes less.
And that's for home health aides. That's not for nurses.
Correct.
That's what a home health aide makes.
Correct. Well, actually, we said agency nurses do not receive in the copious notes. But anyway, yes, home health aide.
I want to make sure. I may have said nurse. I may have inadvertently used them interchangeably, but we're talking about home health aides who are not nurses.
Regardless, the point is you might see a $100 price tag. Just be mindful that's not actually the person who is coming into your home is not making that $100 price tag. She suggested we remember this and, not treat the home health aides like they are doing a job that's worth $100 per hour. And that is a really good point. That could definitely be a disconnect in your head. Like, oh my God, I'm paying so much money for this. They should be doing X, Y, and Z. And that just might not be how it works.
Right. And we've talked about, hiring a home health aide. We had a whole episode on that. $100 an hour going to the agency, it would be less to hire them directly yourself, a good bit less, but then you're dealing with a lot of other things. You got to deal with taxes. You got to deal with basically being their boss and payroll, HR, and everything.
Well,
and if they don't show up because they're sick, then you got to figure out a way to do it.
If you're working with an agency, hopefully an agency would be able to send somebody else.
So that's the trade-off there.
Yeah,
but her second piece of advice is keep track of your loved one's needs, particularly if you hire someone temporarily after a fall or surgery. So, a directly hired worker is not likely to tell you that they don't think your care recipient doesn't need help anymore. And an agency will almost never do that. The point being, you're looking a little confused, Jennifer, but the point being, if your loved one starts to get better and maybe doesn't need the help, they're not going to point that out because they want to keep working.
Right. No, I knew what you meant. I think the way you said it was a little off.
Okay,
but
well,
that's
I was
for
just
another
clarifying.
time. We won't worry about it. Everybody out there knows what you meant.
Yes. So the author of the Reddit post, quote unquote, Brenda, she said she's been in several situations where she went to her job site and did not do anything for 8 hours because the person didn't need the help.
Yeah.
And that's just a waste of money.
It is a waste of money. Yeah.
Right.
So it's a good tip. Okay. Also make sure that as your loved one needs less help, that the agency accounts for that, even if you do still want someone around. So, the author, Brenda,
quote unquote, Brenda,
the author of the post said there have been a number of times when the agency was being paid for hands-on care when all that was really needed was, help with tidying up, laundry, maybe a little bit of meal prep, smaller things. So that sort of help can be done by someone far less trained and certainly less expensive.
So the third tip, kind of related, is remember that home health aides are not there to do one specific job and then leave. If you see a home health aide sitting and chatting, remember that's part of their job. You're not hiring a plumber here to fix something and then leave. So the author of the post, quote unquote, Brenda, she said paid caregivers are actually encouraged to sit down and talk with the client, watch TV, play games, go for a walk if possible, that sort of thing. She said she's hired to care for your loved one, and sometimes that means just having a conversation because otherwise they might get lonely.
She or he is hired to care for your loved one.
Right, true. Well, I'm talking about Brenda.
Okay.
Quote unquote, Brenda. Companionship is part of the job.
Yeah.
So remember
really
that. They're not being lazy. They're doing their job.
Well, yeah. And right. I mean, if you've got someone in caring for someone 8 hours a day, right? Yes, it is not nonstop nursing related care.
And, think about if you're with your loved one for 8 hours a day taking care of them. I mean, you could fill up a lot of that time doing stuff, but there is going to be time maybe where you're sitting down and talking.
Yeah. Or watching TV.
Or watching TV or whatever.
All kinds of things. Okay, well, the fourth tip is to make sure your house is stocked not only for the patient, but also for the caregiver.
This one blew me away.
So Brenda gave the example of a house that she went to that didn't have any toilet paper anywhere. The client was bedbound and didn't need it, but no one thought about the fact that someone else would be around.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's awful.
And I guess no one else literally ever comes in the house and might need a square or two of toilet paper.
I mean, maybe they just ran out and hadn't bought any, but still.
All right. Well, that's a really good tip. Other items to think about, hand soap, paper towels, gloves, hand sanitizer.
Mm-hmm. Make sure they have all the things that they're going to need in order to do their job. And really, it might be a good idea to talk to the agency or the person, find out, okay, what do you provide and what do I need to provide?
Right.
That sort of thing. Because they may provide some things, I don't know,
no,
really.
I feel like it would have to come out of the household budget.
Right. Well, make sure that's clear. Make sure that's clear. Crystal clear.
Crystal. What is that from?
That's from A Few Good Men.
Crystal.
Is that clear?
Crystal. That's right. Oh, it's a good one.
Thank you.
All right. We digress.
It happens.
We had a squirrel moment.
Yes, we did.
George over there.
George is behind me.
Yep. All right. Well, the fifth and final tip is to remember that most of the time you're not hiring an actual nurse, which we kind of touched on briefly at the beginning.
I previewed that one.
You did. The person who comes in to help with your loved one may be a CNA or a home health aide. Most states don't require a certification to be a home health aide, so their training is fairly minimal. Nothing wrong with this.
No, but it may be, a 1 week class where they learn the basics of what they need to do. It's not a certification.
Of, what exactly you're hiring so that you set your expectations properly. You might literally be hiring someone just to be there, keep your loved one company, maybe do a few chores, and call 911 if there's an actual emergency. Your home health aide is not going to be able to make medical decisions, and some aren't even allowed to administer medicines. They can't change dressings. They may not even be allowed to do small things like trim fingernails, which actually that
is a much bigger deal than going into taking care of someone. You don't realize with older people that it's a much bigger deal than it sounds.
If they're on blood thinners, and if you accidentally nick, and
or
then
if they have diabetes, it's even worse.
Diabetes and then open infection. So
it's a big deal.
Steve's never likes to hear me talk about it, but I do like a foot bath and a pedicure for my mom every couple of weeks. It needs to be done.
Yeah,
she can't reach her feet. And she can't.
Fortunately, a podiatrist comes into the assisted living facility about once every month or two.
We talk about this all the time. The good fortune that your mom has to be there.
But I did have to take her to the podiatrist one time to get, and they ended up, I'm going to try to say this without vomiting in my mouth. They had to take off some callus from the bottom of her feet, and then they trimmed her toenails rather. And I just sat in the room and turned around. I wanted nothing to do with seeing this.
Feet. It's crazy.
Oh, it's just so nasty.
Interestingly, the podiatrist who comes into where my mom goes regularly for medical care, they actually don't trim her toenails. They're like checking her toes for, I guess they're checking like pulse and reaction and what else am I thinking of?
Are you sure you can't ask for that service from them?
Oh, no, I asked.
They don't
do it.
The
first time. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's just, that's not actually what that particular podiatrist does. But again, we digress. We're having a lot of squirrel moments here.
These are not squirrel moments. These are relevant.
Well, that's true.
Squirrel moments are irrelevant.
Fair point.
Conversation.
Fair point. George, that's why you're over on the other side tonight.
Exactly.
No, but seriously, when I do the pedicures for mom, I am very mindful about clipping her toenails because I'm terrified because she is on a blood thinner and she does have diabetes, and I'm terrified I'm going to go too far down and, create an open area that an infection could get into. And so anyway,
I even get nervous clipping our cat's nails that I'm going to draw blood at some point.
Well, yeah, especially because they can't tell you.
No, they tell you if you do something wrong. Oh, believe me, that it could be anything from a scream to a bite.
Okay, that was a squirrel moment.
That
Okay.
was a squirrel moment.
Anyway, back to Brenda's
Quote unquote Brenda.
Reminder that, you know, there may be limitations that exist when the person is first hired. And you need to just make sure that you're having a conversation, that you really are understanding the differences between the sort of the different levels of caregivers that might be coming into your home. And if you need an actual nurse, ask specifically for an LPN or an RN, but just, you know, bear in mind that likely the cost associated will be higher.
It's true.
So Brenda, that was a lot of great tips.
Fantastic tips. And I really hope I didn't actually guess her name. I mean, I really didn't know it. If her name actually is Brenda,
we're sorry,
I'm going to be in a lot of trouble.
Brenda, but yeah. That's why I'm saying, like, you got to pick some really random name. I would have helped you pick something really random.
Okay, well, you can pick the next one.
I don't know. Okay, all right.
Pick the next one.
All right, good.
Hold me to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
It'll be like when we were able to name our children. Like, you have the whole world of names.
Yeah, but you don't want to stick them with an awful name.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it'll be fun.
Okay, all right.
I'll find something fun.
You get the next one.
Okay.
All right. So thanks to everyone for listening to this episode. If you want to get in touch with us and give us a How's Your Mom, kind of like the ones we did earlier in this episode, you can email us at caregivinggenxstyle@gmail.com. You can text or leave us a voicemail. Please leave voicemails. We love them. We will play them on the show. 804-723-1221 is the phone number to call. You can message us on Twitter. We don't post there very much. The handle is @GenXCaregiving. We're also on Facebook, as I've said a million times, or at least I think this might be our 75th episode, by the way, Jennifer.
75th?
Yeah,
Really?
I think this is our 75th episode.
Yay us.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, we should have had like a confetti cannon or
we'll
something.
do something for 100.
Then I'd have to clean it up afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Or one of us would. Mm-hmm. Right. Jennifer's implying or inferring. I never know which, but she's implying or inferring that I wouldn't actually do it.
Oh, you'd run the vacuum.
I would. I'm really good at that.
I know you would.
Right. But anyway, if you want to get in touch with us on Facebook, actually, that's where we post the most. Like, for instance, about where I got these How's Your Moms. We're all from Facebook. Go to the show notes and click on the link. That's the best way to get there, and then we'll be in there. But there is an older Facebook page out there that we no longer use that hasn't been posted on for quite some time. So make sure you don't get the wrong one. We hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day.
Good night, everyone.